What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to bring you a quick little personal segment here in that I am most likely switching over to the Sony mirrorless camera system. Currently I have a Canon R6 and this is the 50mm 1.2, which I use primarily for photos. I don't ever use this for video. Then I have the 35mm 1.8. So Sony A7 IV is coming out soon. Kind of want to give a reason of why I might be switching over to that. And maybe this will help you, maybe it won't help you. I am a hobbyist. I mainly use my camera for family photos with our little one running around. And for this YouTube channel, I do like making videos just because I enjoy the process. So I got the Canon R6 previously because I did not like the Sony A7R IV because of the file sizes, and it was a little bit too slow just because of how large those file sizes were. So I switched over to the Canon route, and the big reason why I am going to most likely switch to the Sony system, I'm like 95% sure, is that the lens selection and the size. So this is the 50mm 1.2. Honestly, I don't really like 50mm focal length. I'm more of a 35 and like 100. I kind of like a little bit wider and a little bit longer. And currently Canon does not have anything. The 35mm 1.8 STM version of the Canon RF system, it's okay. It is not anything special. It is a typical 1.8 lens. It's no different than, I don't think, any of the other Canon, Nikon. It is super sharp. It's decent focusing. It's not the fastest lens out there. It's an STM motor, which is mainly video oriented and first versus focus versus photo. So that's one of the big reasons that the lenses on the Canon line, while the L lenses are spectacular, they are super heavy. This is 950 grams, I believe. And the 35mm 1.4, which I know is a little bit different route, the Sony one, the 35mm Sony 1.4 GM, while it's not as quite as sharp, or not as sharp, but as bright as the 1.2s, it is, I think, 500 and some grams, so it's almost half the weight as this. And I recently saw one at Best Buy, and I was like, that thing looks tiny, and it makes me realize that I just don't like carrying the bulk around of the R lenses. I think most of their lens lineup is geared towards wedding stuff. They're all their zooms in the 2.8 range, the what is it, the 28 to 70 f2, which is crazy. The 7200, they have all the more, I would consider them wedding or sports focused, professional grade lenses. It's not that the Sony ones aren't professional grade, they're just more, I think, towards the hobbyist or the pro hobbyist out there. So that's a big reason. So probably get the Sony A7 IV and the 35mm 1.4 GM, which is my ideal focal length. I would use that lens 98% of the time unless our kid is doing sports, and then I'd probably have to get something a little bit longer for that. But that would be the one lens that would stay on the system forever. This generally stays on my R6, but I don't like the 50mm focal length. This is an amazing lens. It's probably one of the best lenses I've ever owned, but it's also extremely heavy, over $2,000, and a little bit, it's just a little too flashy, so it definitely does draw some attention just from how large it is. And I didn't notice how big it was until I saw the 35mm 1.4 in the actual Best Buy store. Even the 35mm 1.8 that's on this is super tiny. It's just not special at all. So most of that is the reason why I'm going to switch over. I'd love the Canon R6. I would love to take that body and migrate it with the Sony lenses. And I know that down the line Canon is going to make better lenses. They'll probably make 1.4L lenses. There's rumored to be a 35mm 1.2L, but who friggin' knows when it will be able to be released, just because, yes, there's a chip shortage, it's hard to produce things, but it's been rumored to be announced for like a year now. So, and that lens will probably be heavier than this. It will probably cost $3,700. $34.99, so it will be very, very expensive, very, very heavy, pro grade, probably one of the best 35mm lenses out there whenever it's released. But I don't really want to wait any longer for my ideal setup. I don't like the Sony bodies, I will say that. and I don't like that Sony outsources all their support. So Sony does not do any support for their cameras that I'm aware of. It's all outsourced, unless you have like two Sony A7 body or two Sony A series bodies, two GM or professional grade lenses. They don't really do everything in house. Everything's outsourced to a third party, which I don't really like. Canon keeps theirs in house. Their customer service is top notch, and all they do is camera stuff. So Sony's a bigger company. They do TVs, phones, all kinds of stuff out there. So that's where I'm headed, I think. That's the route. I can get decent amount for all this stuff. It's a pretty high demand, especially the 50mm and the R6. That will go pretty quick. So that's kind of my general thoughts on why I'm probably going to switch to the Sony route. Do I want to? No, but I really want that 35mm 1.4 lens. I also like the Batis 25mm f2. That's a lovely lens, especially if you're doing it for a video like this. And the 135mm 1.8. Why that is a little larger, it's way smaller than if Canon made like a 35mm 1.1 or probably 2.0 is what they would make, or at least that's what they're rumored to make. So that's the line or the route I'm thinking about going, just because of the size, the cost. You can get Sony lenses a little bit cheaper. The 55mm 1.8 Zeiss is also an excellent lens, and you can find it for $500-600 pretty easily, and it is tiny. So why the sealed? No. Is it pro grade like an L lens? Probably not. But I don't really use my stuff in a pro setting, so that's it. That's my quick ramble on kind of the Canon RF mount and the Sony FE mount thoughts. I am going to hate to do it. I'll probably regret doing it down the line just because of how much I really like the R6 body. And I actually really like this lens. I just wish it was a 1.4 L lens and 35mm, which it'll probably be years before they produce that. I would say 2 or 3 minimum before they'll produce a 1.4 35mm lens. And that's even if they do. I'm not interested in adapting lenses. People have mentioned that before. That just adds more bulk. Those lenses aren't designed for the RF mount, so that's not. I don't want to adapt any lenses down the line. So that's it. Comments, questions, leave them below, or give me some advice. What you think I should do. You guys have seen, or if you've watched a few of my videos, you know what I use this for, mainly for hobby, for family stuff in this channel, and that's about it. So that's it. Have a good rest of the day, weekend, whatever's out there, holiday, and I'll see you guys next time.